Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all. Welcome to the Ames Maker Studio. I'm Paul Reimer. I'm joined by my colleague Steve Pauls, and we have Chris Bennett on AV today. We're so excited that you're here. Welcome to our Vortex Canon build session. We're going to get started with shooting off some rings here from the Canon. If you were with us in the summer, you may remember the Vortex Canon. Its grand entrance. Yeah, it's a great fun tool. It's a wonderful way to explore the science of wind and airflow and resistance. It's a fantastic and fun tool. So we're going to shoot off some rings here to get started. Yeah, Steve has got this thing filled up with it's a non-toxic fog that is just generated from a liquid and a heater, and it goes into the cannon, and then with a quick pull back of the diaphragm there, it launches that ring, and it's quite fun to see. Of course, without this fog, you're not able to see what's happening. And so the fog is a nice way to sort of make visual what is typically invisible. You can feel the wind. You can stand in front of the cannon and feel that kind of whoosh of air, that blast, which is really exciting. And then with the fog, you're able to see a little bit more of what's happening. Well, today we're excited that you're joining us. We're going to kind of go from the beginning to build one of these cannons. We'll talk about the tools that are needed, the various materials that you may need, and then we're going to really then kind of explore some ideas about how to use this fun activity in perhaps a family STEAM event. Maybe it's a station at a family math night or science night. It could be also just a sort of an installation that you put in a various community place, school, library. It's a great and fun activity to really explore some of the more kind of wow factors of STEAM. And then we'll conclude with the Q&A. Would love to have your input, questions, thoughts, and ideas along the way. If you have your own materials, you're welcome to build along with us. We know that it could also be just helpful to just watch and kind of be a part of the process. So however you'd like to engage today, we invite you to do so. We have a guide, the Vortex Canon Interactive Exhibit Guide, which looks like this. And this guide is a PDF that Chris is going to go ahead and throw into the chat for you there. So you can kind of follow along. Here's what we are doing. We're going to kind of go through various aspects of this, starting with the materials and then moving into the actual build and the applications of this fun and exciting tool. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Steve, let's talk a bit about some of the materials that we're going to need to get started.
Absolutely. We've tried to make the material list as simple as possible, as easy as find as possible. Hopefully most of the materials you can find at a place like Lowe's or Home Depot or Harbor Freight, your local hardware store. What we have in the guide and what we show here are not an exhaustive list or a specific list of what you need. There is you can use what you have, and you can make substitutions, and depending on your skill level and what you have available and what kind of a workshop that you have as well. And we'll talk some about that as we go through. The first thing to talk about, I guess, is the trash can itself. And I got this trash can at Home Depot. We're not being sponsored by Home Depot. You can get it at Lowe's.
Any local hardware store will do.
Hardware store. This particular one is a 32-gallon trash can. I've made them out of slightly larger ones. I've made them out of slightly smaller. It just depends on what kind of footprint you have in terms of storage and what is available at the store itself. The one thing I would point out is that I do look at the bottom of the trash can, and we're gonna cut a hole in the bottom very shortly. And so you want to be able to access the bottom of that trash can, and you can't have too many bumps or ridges, and you want to be able to cut that with a hacksaw or some other tool. So if it's got too much structure, that is a little more difficult.
Right.
So you might want to. That's something to keep an eye
Some
on.
cans now come with like a platform and wheels on the bottom.
Yeah.
That's something you want to avoid. You just want to have that flat bottom that you can access.
Exactly.
Okay, nice.
Other materials, then we have a tarp. Tarp again is something that this is another tarp that I picked up at a hardware store. I tend to get the heaviest tarp that I can, the heavy duty tarp. They last a little bit longer than some of the other tarps. The one place that we have used this Vortex cannon is at a outside venue at a Storyland, where it gets a lot of use and a lot of outdoor exposure.
Sure.
So it's good that a little heavier tarp lasts a little bit longer. But you can use a lighter weight tarp if that's what you have. You could use a painter's tarp. That's all right as well. The idea is it needs to be flexible enough to be able to push a column of air through that trash can, and any type of lightweight tarp will do just that. A roll of duct tape. Since I have a black trash can, I like black duct tape, but that is not, you could have yellow duct tape.
Any color will do.
Any color will do. Silver duct tape works just fine.
Great.
But I know this Gorilla black duct tape does work very well.
Great.
And attaching to plastic. I use for cutting the hole, we'll talk about shortly. You can use a trim router. I have done that. If you have access to that, that works very well. But I have also found that a simple hacksaw blade works very well. One with a handle that you can hold on to, and then with the blade. I think they call this a cross cut or a simple cut. And this, depending on the brand, every brand has a different name for this type of tool, but this works very well, and we'll work with that shortly. Scissors, a little bit of sandpaper, a drill, and measuring tape is about all that you need.
Okay, wonderful. And like Steve said, it seems like there's a variety of different kinds of materials and tools you can use if you are interested in something like a power tool. These options work well, but also a simple handsaw with a fine tooth blade.
Yep.
Can do the trick as
It
well.
may take a little more time, but it works very well. And actually, in the end, it makes a cutting edge, which is a little smoother than what you can. You get a little carried away with a power tool.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And handsaw works a little better.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the garbage can and kind of go through the steps. If you're following along in the guide, we're gonna go right over to page number 4, and we're gonna be looking at cutting that hole in the garbage can.
So what I've done in the bottom of your garbage can is you can see that it is circular. And the idea is you want a hole that is about 2/3 that diameter. And that doesn't need to be exact. The key is you don't want too small a hole, you don't want too large a hole. The optimal seems to be around 2/3 of the diameter. But I think there's a lot of flexibility there. What I often look for, I've made several of these cannons, and I often look for a natural place to cut in the plastic in terms of where the ribbing is. And that's where I lay that out. In this case, there was a kind of natural support around the diameter here. And I said, oh, well, looks about 2/3. I think that's where I'm going to make that cut.
So just for reference, the bottom of this can is 16 inches across. That's the diameter. And the hole is about 9 inches across.
Yeah.
So that's one kind of example of just, you want to make sure that there's enough area here that stays put, as well as having enough, large enough of a hole.
And what I did is I just looked for a variety of, the question is, how do you make the circular pattern to start that cut or to make that cut? I went and found a pie tin, thinking that was about the right size, and indeed it was. And I laid centered the pie tin on the bottom of the trash can, and then used a marker to draw around it. So that made my mark, and that's where I was going to make my cut.
Sounds good.
So as I said, what I used is a hacksaw, since this was a relatively soft plastic, this particular trash can. And so I took my electric drill, and I drilled a series of holes in the bottom of the trash can where I could use as a starting point for my hacksaw. You have to get the blade in, some way to get the blade in. So I would drill a hole so I could stick my hacksaw in, and then I could begin to cut and work around. And I've pre-cut this just to save a little bit of time around this, but just to show you how I got that started, the starter hole, and then slowly work my way around. And even then, it probably took 3 minutes, 4 minutes to work my way around slowly. And then I was able to cut that out. And I knocked that out, and you end up with something that looks like that.
And I noticed that once you cut that, it can be kind of rough around the edges here. Like you might have some little burrs or some little bits of plastic that could still be there. Is that what the sandpaper's for?
Right. So what I did then is use a little bit of sandpaper. This is 80 grit, but whatever you have, 100 grit, and just kind of slowly work my way around it and soften that edge and get any of those burrs off. And what you find then is that helps that air as it comes out of the cannon. It helps that air doesn't catch that air quite as much, and cause it to flow a lot better.
So we do have a question about heavier plastic. So if their trash can's heavier plastic, you would probably go towards like that trim router, something that's power tool, right?
Right. So this is an HDX, which is a relatively light plastic. If you go with more of the Brute, I think that was the other brand, that was a much heavier plastic. So a trim router or an oscillating vibrational tool might be the way to go. To cut that out. Absolutely.
And then starter holes, probably the same.
Yep.
Same as you do here, but just starter holes to get your cutting instrument in there, right?
Yep, exactly. Just when you're using an electric tool like the trim router, just be very careful, because it eats plastic a lot faster than it does wood, and you can go off course much quicker.
Olivia, we're going to actually share some smaller versions of this, of the Vortex cannon, all the way down to the tiniest little version that you can imagine. So that's coming up next. Okay, well, now that we've got the hole, let's talk about the tarp. What do we do? How do we take this tarp and create the next part of this?
So what I've done is I've cut out a square piece of tarp. This is out of, as I said, a heavy duty tarp. And I've cut out a square piece that is larger than the diameter of my trash can.
This looks to be about a 3-foot square piece of tarp.
3-foot square piece of tarp.
So that will help you kind of indicate what size tarp you're going to need. 3-foot square here is sufficient.
There you go. And I had my marker in my pocket, and I no longer have it.
You need a marker as well. We'll find it.
Or a pen.
Here you are.
There we go. That'll work. Perfect. And the idea with the tarp is going to be our diaphragm. That is what's going to push the air, that column of air through the trash can and out that hole. And so there's a fine line between, we don't want it to be pulled tight as a drum, but we want it to, we're going to attach a bungee cord to it so that it has some elasticity, and so that you can pull it back and you can let it go and it can sharply push that air through. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a circle of tarp, which is larger than our trash can, and then tape that to the outside of this and create that diaphragm on that opening. So one way of doing that is to, I think in the guide I say you should have about 4 inches, a circle which is about 4 inches larger than the diameter of your trash can. So what I would do is put this in the middle of your square and then just mark 4 inches as you go around. Every few inches you can mark all the way around, mark 4 inches away from your tarp, or excuse me, from your trash can. And again, this does not have to be exact. We're just forming a larger circle than what we had before. And then you can sketch that circle.
And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, right, Steve? It can be, we're estimating, we just want about 4 inches of overlap.
Right.
Okay.
If you want it to be a perfect circle, of course, you can use a string and find the center and create a perfect circle. For time's sake, we will make a rough estimate so that we're just 4 inches larger than our, yep. And so what we're going to do then, all we're going to do is cut out that around the circumference of that circle so that we're just a little bit larger than our trash can. And that will allow us then to have a little bit of overlap that we can fold over the rim and be able to tape that down and into place. Now that you want a diaphragm, this is what pushes the air, but we need to have something to grab onto. We need to have a handle to be able to pull that back and let it go. And what we have is, could you grab that wooden knob? Also at your hardware store, you can get again, you can substitute this with what you have or something different, but I found I like feel of wood. I'm a woodworker, so I bought a wooden cabinet knob that looks like this. I think this is I think it's just a wooden round knob is what it's described. In this case, it's 46 millimeters or 1 13/16 of an inch, but I didn't pay any attention to that. I just like the shape of it. And we're going to use this as the knob that we'll attach and use this as our pole. And what we want to do is we want to find the middle of this tarp, or the rough middle of this tarp. And that is going to be our locator, and where we're going to attach this knob, and where we're going to attach the cable knob on one side and the cable that we're going to use, the bungee cord we're going to use, that will give us our tension. And so if you have the measuring tape. Yeah. Okay. So we have a rough circle. So we'll just No, we say it's
29, so
29, so
14
roughly,
and a half. Yeah, 14.
we'll go in something like that and take,
You wanna go on the other side this way?
let's go several,
Okay,
let's go several different angles
okay.
and they'll all overlap with each other. And that gives us roughly the center point.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that our center point is roughly here. And that's where we're going to put our knob and attach our bungee cord attachment point. But we know that that's also going to be a point, once I punch a hole through that tarp, that's also a point that's going to be a point of where it could tear, where it will break, especially if it's as you launch it over and over again. So it's good to reinforce that point as much as possible. So if you take your duct tape.
Okay, you want some pieces torn off on this, like?
Yeah, so about 3-inch pieces.
Okay. All right, so there's one.
And we're going to overlap those
Another one.
pieces.
That'll be 3. Do you need a 4th one, maybe?
And that gives us a good foundation then. And actually what I will do, I'll grab my awl, which is just a sharp point.
Just any kind of a sharp point. You're gonna mark the center.
I'm gonna mark that center so I know where that center is going to be.
Okay, so you're just poking it through the tarp
I'm
and
gonna
tape.
poke that through.
Okay.
And now I'm going to,
There's the hole.
holes right here, so let's tear off another.
We're
4
gonna
or 5,
reinforce this side as well.
and we'll reinforce this side as well.
Okay.
I've learned from experience, you cannot reinforce too much.
Mhm.
The weak spot is where that knob is.
Mhm.
Just receives a lot of force.
Sure.
Okay. So I know where that's my center. I can, we put tape over it. I can take my sharp point. You can do this with a drill as well. You don't have an awl. Any questions?
No,
That you're
looking
seeing?
good.
So we have a reinforced center, we have a hole through that. And so what we can do is we can add our knob and we can add our bungee cord for tension. Now, to attach my bungee cord to my knob, what I've done, and I'll give you an alternative. What I've done is I've used an eye hook. Where can I, here I go.
Mhm.
An eye hook. Could you grab that package? What is the size of that?
This is a 3/16 inch by a 2-inch.
3/16 and then.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
we're
I have-
using a 3/16 inch, 2-inch. I have.
There you go. You can, and I have a smaller one that I've used as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there, you can get these eye hooks at the hardware store, and I bent them open. Here we go. I've bent them open so that they're open just enough so that I can slip on the bungee cord.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a vise at home that so I can shut that eye hook so that it traps the bungee cord around the eye hook. Now, not everybody has a vise, and I was thinking about another way of doing this. Another way would be to use an eye hook and the knob, and then use a zip tie between the eye hook and the bungee cord. So you don't have to open that up. Yeah, you could use a fencing pliers if you have a fencing pliers.
Yep.
kudos for you for knowing what a fencing pliers is.
Absolutely.
I grew up on a
Nice
farm.
job, Nicole.
A farm in Kansas and used the fencing pliers many times. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have a plier, heavy duty pliers, or if you have a bench vise and can close that, that's great. If you want to use a zip tie to be able to lock those together, I think that will work just as well.
Basically, what you want to accomplish is you want the eye hook to be around the bungee cord and to be stable so that it doesn't come off.
Right. And let me show you what we're going to do, and just to give you an idea, if you can hold this up. What we're going to do is we're going to put the knob on, turn it sideways.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to put the knob on one side and the bungee cord and the eye hook on the other, and attach that through the diaphragm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we're going to do this now because before we attach it to the trash can, because reaching into the trash can and trying to attach them together, you gotta have longer arms than I do.
So
evidently I have T-Rex arms. I can't reach that far.
So do it ahead of time.
So do it ahead of time.
Okay.
So we want to be able to, it's much easier to do it this way. So we can start the knob or the eye hook through.
Takes a little bit of back and forth to kind of enlarge that hole.
Yep.
Okay. Looks like it's starting to bite a little as you're twisting it now.
Twisting it through, yeah. So I can thread it through the tarp.
Mm-hmm.
And then on this side,
you've got a cabinet knob that screws right onto that eye hook.
Screw right on to that eye hook. Right.
So there's a question of, does it have to be sealed, or could they just cut 2 slices into the tarp and tape it afterwards?
You can, it may not, my worry is when you slice the tarp, that breaks the integrity enough that you do put quite a bit of force as you fire it. And it does wear out a little bit faster if you do that. And you end up having to replace the tarp more often. As I said, we've had this at Storyland, and I've probably about every 6 months, I have to go and replace the tarp because it gets a lot of use there.
So let's see, one side we've got that cabinet knob, and then on the other side, we've got that eye hook, with the bungee there. Okay.
All right. So now the key is, of course, we really want this knob and this bungee cord to be in the center of this trash can, the center of this opening, right? As we're going to tape this. And the best way I have found, and the key is we don't want it pulled tight as a drum. We don't want a drum skin, because then there's no room to pull it back and to push that air, that column of air. So to give it a little bit of a slack in that tarp, what I do is I use a roll of duct tape or a 3-inch bowl. I think the manual talks about a 3-inch bowl. But if you set that on the ground,
okay,
and then we lay your knob in the center of that, like that, you can wrap the bungee cord around it, but you're raising that off the ground. Okay.
Okay.
And now you're going to set that on top.
Okay.
And we're going to look down through the top and center that as best you can. Eyeball it. But you want that eye hook now to be directly in the center of that tarp.
Yeah.
So you can judge that by looking down the center of the barrel. You can also judge it by looking at your edges around the set. And if they're relatively even, have an even edge and it looks like it's in the center, you're probably close enough.
Excellent. Well, that looks about right. I do notice we have a little bit of extra tarp on this side compared to this side, but there does seem to be plenty of overlap. Is that okay?
I think that's okay.
All
It
right.
looks pretty good looking down the barrel.
Yeah, I thought so too. That eye hook looks pretty well centered right down the middle.
Okay. So now we have some slack in the tarp. We've got it centered. The last thing we need to do is, or the next thing we need to do is to be able to secure that tarp to the trash can.
More duct tape?
More duct tape. Always more duct tape.
All right. You want some small pieces?
Yeah, give me about 2-inch
Okay.
pieces. And so what my technique is to, at first, what I would say is I tack it to the barrel
Mm-hmm.
by going around on all 4 sides and kind of just loosely hold it, making sure the tarp the barrel doesn't move on the tarp, but attaching it on all 4 sides.
Okay.
And you do have the handle there, so you kind of have to work around the handle. We'll talk about how to deal with that in a moment. But you're just trying to hold that into place so you don't lose that center. That's the important thing. Okay.
You want to do another one?
You can look at it.
Okay.
So once we have that centered and that's not going to go anywhere, we can turn this over.
Okay.
And you can see we have plenty of slack in that diaphragm, which is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
But we really need to lock down the edge of that tarp.
Okay.
And so the best way to do that is to start at one spot and kind of think about it in terms of wrapping a gift. And wrapping paper, and you just kind of fold, and you're wrapping a round edge. So it's going to crinkle a little bit, but crinkle.
Right.
You can tuck it, tape it, tuck it, tape it, tuck it, tape it, and
Okay.
kind of work your way around.
So still like small pieces of tape because you're kind of just going one section at a time.
Yep.
Got it.
And you're taping that edge. You want to get a good edge tape all along. And the good news is the trash can, the duct tape seems to really do a good job attaching itself, adhering to the trash can.
Mm-hmm. Remember that one?
But it serve yourself, just take a little bit of time to nicely tuck and fold that as you go around.
And if you have a little bit of an overlap, you just sort of like kind of double it under or fold it under.
Yep.
Okay.
And you you just want to fold it. You don't really want to pull. Remember, now you're not pulling it.
Because you don't want,
tight.
again, you don't want the tarp you want to maintain that kind of slack that you showed earlier, right? Where you've got a little bit of give there.
That's right.
Got it.
Now you're going to have a little bit of a different problem once you get to the handles. You have a handle on either side. And the best way I have found dealing with that is to, I'll borrow your scissors,
Mm-hmm.
is to make a cut along those handles, just enough so that you can cut on the outside of the handle.
Okay.
And then,
tuck it in.
and then you can tuck the tarp on the inside and just kind of pull it
Mm-hmm.
on the inside and then tape it there.
Got it.
So you want to cut it enough that you can pull it down, but not too much.
Uh-huh. So Steve, you mentioned earlier that sometimes the tarp can wear out. So if you buy one of these sort of larger tarps, you can use that 3 by 3 foot section for the first one and then store away the rest for when you need a replacement.
Yeah, often I will, of course, a single tarp often comes as maybe a 9 by 10, 6 by 10 tarp. Once I cut one circle, I'll use that as a template and I'll cut 4 or 5 circles out at one time. And when I need a replacement, then I have one ready to go, and I don't have to go and find the tarp and remember what the size was. I always have one ready and waiting in the wings. It just depends on how much it's going to be used. As I said, with the one that we have at Storyland, it gets used all the time, and they call us every once in a while and say it needs a little tender loving care. Could you come by and replace it?
Right.
And so we go by and do a swap out.
Yeah. Right. Looks like you need maybe one more on this side as well as the handle done on this side, and then that'll be it.
But other than the tarp, that is the only thing that, well, the tarp and the bungee cord. The bungee cords eventually wear out as well, but that's also easy to replace. And other than that, everything is pretty much lasts indefinitely.
Yeah.
I've been very happy with that.
Want to trim that a little bit, or is that handle look okay? Just tucks under there.
Yeah. Glad down.
One more piece there.
Now, once you've gone all the way around and you've done the handle, you have a good seal. I would suggest taking a line and going all the way around that.
Just to kind of give an extra secure.
Yep. All the way around that ragged edge a little bit. And it also makes it look a little bit nicer.
Going.
But I could already feel when I pulled up on the tarp, I could hear the air being sucked in to the trash can, showing me that
Scissors.
I had a good seal.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good sign.
Right.
All right. So now I have a diaphragm, and I have a diaphragm that's loose enough and pulls back, and I have a knob attached to it, which is right in the center. I like that. Good job, Paul.
Perfect.
But what we need now is we need some tension that will allow right now when I let go of the knob, it just kind of flops. We want some tension to let that spring back and to push that air out of the trash can, out of the column, the barrel. And that's what the bungee cord is for. And oh boy,
you
really
got
are
it.
short.
Nice job.
This is an extra long tank. So the bungee cord, I've got 2 hooks on the bungee cord. And what we want to do is drill a small hole.
Is this a good size?
This
is a bit of a big bit.
A smaller bit.
All right. Basically want the hole to be large enough to receive the hook of the bungee cord, but not so big that it takes up too much space here on the bottom or it's too weak. Huh?
Right.
All right.
You got it situated this way, so
So where do we want to
let's
put
put
these?
it
Here?
right.
How far in do you go?
I would go, yeah, about right there,
About here?
about a half an inch.
About a half an inch in. Okay. That was quick. And then about a half an inch in on this side. Okay.
All right. We keep reaching. Made all those jokes. All right, I got them.
All right.
So.
Okay.
So now you take those bungee cords, that bungee cord and hooks, and swing them up and put the hooks through each of those holes. Just like that.
Okay.
And that provides the tension then you can.
Oh yeah, I can see it's really kind of like sucked this in a bit there.
That's right.
So if we give this a shot and I pull back here, ooh, that's tight.
Yep.
Wow. All right, let's do a test here.
There's the
Oh,
The camera.
we've got a set of Mylar strips here on the wall. We're gonna see, or we've got Jackie who's just coming in. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and see what happens as we let this thing go. Wow, look at that.
So those Mylar strips, they come in 9-foot lengths. You can buy those in different colors and they work really well.
Yeah.
To be able to see that column of air if you don't want to use a smoke or have access to a fog machine.
Now, what's kind of interesting, Steve, is I can feel the launch, and then a few seconds later, I can see the air effect there, but I don't always see it because sometimes I may be too high or too low to the side. So I think I'd love to see this full of smoke and fog.
Let's find out.
All right, well, we've got this non-toxic fog machine here. We're going to fill it up and see if we can actually see what's happening here a little bit better. All right, here we go. This will be helpful for the aiming as well. Oh yeah.
A lot easier
That
to
was
see.
three in a row there. Win a prize.
That's right. A stuffed bunny.
So really kind of that like, yeah, the fun of shooting a blast of air and feeling it is great. And sometimes that's a fun way to start. When we look at that fog in there, I think what we see is the kind of a bit more of what's happening. And if you have your guide on one of the pages here, we have a little bit of background. And I encourage you to take a look at the background. The background has a bit more about the vortex ring, the pressure pulse, which is that act of pulling and letting go, the air ring, and that stabilized vortex ring. So, Steve, what is this like? The stabilization of it? It looks like a donut flying through the air. What's going on there?
So what's really happening is that you're shooting this column of air, but the magic is really occurring where you have that. If say you have just an oatmeal container and you can shoot air out of an oatmeal container, but there's not that rim that we have in the vortex cannon. What that rim does is that the air in the center of that ring is moving much faster than the air on the sides. And so you have a difference in air pressure between what's in the center and what's on the sides. So you have much higher air pressure in the center and low air pressure on the sides. And so that causes that air then to start to rotate. And as that rotates, then it spins and it's a stabilization effect. Causes that air to stabilize. It causes it to hold together, that ring to hold together. It causes it to, it's actually a lower energy state, causes it to last a much longer time. And if there's not a wind and you have the right, humidity and temperature, those rings can go 30, 40, 50 yards. just slowly move across the landscape. It's really quite amazing.
One of our previous conversations, you were talking about places in nature where we see this happening. Can you talk about a couple of those?
Yeah, I notice them when I'm kayaking and on a still lake, especially in the morning where it's a mirror finish as you're kayaking. You look back from your paddle and you can see rings on the surface where your kayak has pulled through the water that will extend back an eighth to a fourth of a mile. Dolphins, you can go to Google or go to YouTube and type in dolphins and vortex rings, and you'll find that dolphins will play. Part of their play is to create air vortex rings in water, and sometimes they'll do that around jellyfish and suck jellyfish into their vortex and cause them to spin, and we'll try to dive through the rings and do all kinds of playful things with these rings. So we do see them in nature. And airplanes, vortex rings are actually a detriment. We see them coming off the wings of planes, and it actually reduces the efficiency of air because it causes turbulence. And so if you've ever been on a plane and you see those little winglets that now they have on planes, the vertical pieces that are on wings, those are called winglets. Those are to help reduce the vortex rings on a plane. That increases the efficiency of the plane and reduces the cost of fuel.
Fascinating. Love to hear about the connections between nature, industry, transportation. We mentioned earlier some smaller versions of vortex cannons and what kinds of things you can do. We'd like to share a few of those. This is a smaller version of the vortex cannon that is a commercially produced vortex cannon. Looks like kind of a, so the plastic bucket with, again, it's got the same sort of diaphragm on the front. It's got its own bungee cord and connector on the inside and a bit of a handle here. And so this is another kind of a vortex cannon that you can take a look at. And for those of you who joined us for the Summer Institute last year, we also made small versions out of red plastic solo cups. And this, you can see we have a small hole cut in the bottom. And the diaphragm on this is a balloon or just a latex surface that is then wrapped around and taped around the top. And then with this, it's just a simple pullback and a launch. And it's does a surprisingly nice job. Yeah. And then we've got even a smaller version, which is just the top of a water bottle that is also has a balloon surface taped to it as well that can be pulled out. And you can take a look at the vortex rings that this shoots out.
They're very fast.
They are very fast rings. You can almost just kind of hit the balloon surface, and you can see small rings coming out there. Some of them stay in that ring formation for quite some time before they dissipate into the air around. In one of our sort of design sessions and in some of our research here, we also found out something that was quite surprising when it came to vortex cannon. Steve did a lot of work to design this model, and then come to find out, Steve did a little work with cardboard boxes. So over here, we have a cardboard box that's all taped up, and there's just a hole cut in the side of the cardboard box. And what we found was that with just a simple squeezing of the box, it creates the same sort of ring that the cannon that we created does. It's a bit of a smaller version, but just a little bit of that punch on the side of the box creates it. We were both excited about this and also a little bit disappointed that it was this easy to create a vortex ring.
After all the work we've done.
but also a wonderfully simple DIY way to play with this. And again, there's just also just the feeling of the wind that hits when that box is squeezed. Another interesting idea is, does it have to be a round hole that the air goes out of? Will this box with the square hole create a square ring?
Somebody asked this question at the Summer Institute last year, and it was a very good question. So we thought we'd answer it today. What happens if you have a square hole?
Uh-huh. Oh, question answered.
Square hole
Is still round.
You get a round ring. Again, I was a little disappointed. I kind of wanted a square ring.
A square ring would have been really fun. But also kind of the geometry of the way that it's spinning wouldn't quite work with a square because of those points that you have there. We'd like to also just highlight in the guide, there are a few suggestions for ways that you can really make this come alive by adding different targets. At one of our recent events, we set up a pyramid of cups and challenged families to knock over as many cups as they could with the Vortex cannon by adjusting and kind of moving the cannon around, which was a lot of fun.
And they could count the cups as they're knocked down or as they're setting them up.
Absolutely. So a lot of different ways to do that. We also encourage you to connect this exhibit with literature. There are a lot of books here about wind. Also some of the study that Steve was talking about that you could do connecting to dolphins, other ways that we see these sort of vortex rings happening in lakes with kayaking, or just even as air gets integrated into water and spins. Quite fascinating. As you do, there's some suggestions here for observation and feedback as well. And we'd love to just sort of like conclude in the last 5 or so minutes. If there are any questions anybody would have, you feel free to unmute and ask. We'd love to engage in any conversation. If you've tried some things, Kathy, thanks for sharing about using the box. If you've shared things that you'd like to share with the rest of us, we'd love to hear about it.
So cool. Thank you.
Hi everybody. I
Hi,
put
Tom.
in the comments that a girth hitch on the eye lit with the bungee cord would work too, where you don't have to like pull the steel apart and put it back together, and that would be one way.
That's a great modification. Love that.
Great idea.
Jonathan, you also asked about an oval hole. Do you have predictions about that?
In my brain, I just see a perfect oval ring. I don't know, but who knows? It's probably would be just a plain circle too, which is still exciting.
Yeah, right.
One of our group asked, what if you have multiple holes? So that's going to be our next experiment. Let's put in 5 or 6 holes and see what happens.
Yep.
What would you estimate the rough cost for what you built today as?
So I just was looking at some of the current costs. I would say for the cannon itself, probably about $60. The trash can is about $24. The tarp is about $20, but that you could get several diaphragms out of that. If you add, we haven't talked about the stand, but the manual does talk about it. If you add the stand, you can do it all under $100. But the cannon itself, you can do that for under $60, I believe.
You want to see the small blue one? Is that oh, we have this version. This is a commercial version. And then the very small one that does have a blue is just a water bottle with a balloon cover.
Thank you.
Kirsten and I were texting each other about that commercial blue one that you have. I'm like, can we build that? Where does that come from? It's like the perfect size.
It is a fun size.
I think that's called an Airzuka,
Airzuka.
Airzuka.
Airzuka. You can find this online somewhere.
maybe $15 to $20, something like
Yeah.
that.
Nicole found it on Amazon. Great. Yeah. Airzuka.
Airzuka. Thank you. And then I shared with Kirsten that my brothers and I used to throw rocks at each other with the plastic bottle one and the other one that one. I'm like, oh, we were doing slingshot vortex when we were little.
And you absolutely, you just didn't know it.
Thank
We
you.
can
We
share-
appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. We can share some more pictures of these. If you'd like to come and explore more of this during the summer, Maker Studio will be open during the Institute time. We do have the pre-conference from 1 to 3 on Monday. For those of you who are able to come, we encourage you to do so. We'll have some guided activities, but also just some general exploration. If you have questions about interactive exhibits or other materials or ideas, we'll have the studio open. We'll be playing around and having some fun right before we get started on that Monday.
And I'm always willing to help with a build of your air cannon if you have any questions or you run into some problems. Please feel free to reach out and I'll certainly help.
If you have colleagues that didn't make it today, we will be sharing this on the YouTube channel so everybody can take a look at it. And I love the idea of building one here, Debbie. So we'll put that on the list and see what we can do. And if you are wanting to do that, I think we can make it happen just so long as you have the capacity to take it home with you.
TSA may not allow that.
Yeah, right. Well, with all of that, I want to just thank you all for being here. Thanks for joining us live from the Maker Studio here at Ames. Excited about what you'll do with this and can't wait to see the ways that you integrate these ideas into your community, build on them, extend them, expand them. Can't wait to see you all in June. Thanks, everybody.